Did you know that in the past decade, over $2.3 billion in military contractor funds have simply vanished from Pentagon records? Money that was supposed to protect American lives, gone without a trace. But what happens when the very warriors we trust most become the ones stealing it? My name is Commander Jake Steelwind Morrison. You're watching Razor Edge. If you're ready to dive deep into the shadows where honor meets corruption, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Because today's story will shake your faith in everything you thought you knew about America's most elite warriors. Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Reaper Castellanos had spent 15 years earning his place among the Navy's most lethal operators. Team 6, the tip of the spear. The men who hunted terrorists in the darkest corners of the world and came home with their shields, or on them. But on a cold Tuesday morning in Norfolk, Virginia, Marcus was about to discover that some of his brothers had been hunting something else entirely. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead as Marcus stared at the computer screen in the Naval Special Warfare Command Finance Office. Row after row of numbers that didn't add up. Operational funds that had been allocated but never properly accounted for. What started as a routine quarterly audit was becoming something much darker. $12.3 million, he muttered, running his calloused fingers through his graying hair. Where the hell did $12 million go? But the numbers were just the beginning of what Marcus would uncover. The spreadsheet showed operational expenditures for the past 18 months. Ammunition, equipment, transportation, contractor services, standard line items for any special operations unit. But buried in the contractor payments were invoices that made Marcus's blood run cold. Blackwater Solutions, LLC, a company that didn't exist in any official Pentagon database, yet they had received $2.4 million in payments over 6 months. Phoenix Security International, another ghost company, $1.8 million in contracts for specialized consultation services. Marcus had been in special operations long enough to know that when money disappeared, people usually disappeared too. He pulled up the communication logs for the operational periods when these payments were made. What he found made his hands shake. Encrypted communications between SEAL team leadership and unknown external contacts. Messages sent through secure channels that bypassed normal naval special warfare oversight. The timestamps matched exactly with the mysterious contractor payments. Marcus opened the first encrypted file. His security clearance gave him access, but what he read made him wish it hadn't. Package delivered to Caracas contact. Payment confirmed through Phoenix channel. Next shipment requires additional operational security. Recommend cleaner protocol for loose ends. Cleaner protocol. In the special operations community, that phrase had only one meaning. Someone was going to die. But Marcus was about to discover that the corruption went deeper than he ever imagined. He cross-referenced the communication timestamps with operational deployments. Every mysterious payment coincided with SEAL team deployments to Central America, Eastern Europe, and Southeast Asia, regions where American special operations weren't supposed to be conducting business with local contractors. The office door creaked behind him. Marcus spun around to see Lieutenant Commander David "Viper" Richardson, his team leader for the past 3 years. A man he'd trusted with his life in firefights from Afghanistan to Syria. Working late, Reaper? Richardson's voice carried a tone Marcus had never heard before. Cold. Calculating. Just finishing up the quarterly audit, sir. Found some discrepancies in the contractor payments that need... I know what you found. Richardson stepped into the office and closed the door behind him. The question is, what are you planning to do about it? The fluorescent light reflected off Richardson's eyes, and for the first time in 15 years of brotherhood, Marcus felt afraid of one of his own teammates. But Richardson's next words would shatter everything Marcus believed about honor and loyalty. You've always been too thorough for your own good, Reaper. That attention to detail made you a hell of an operator. But sometimes, asking the wrong questions can be hazardous to your health. Marcus's hand instinctively moved toward his sidearm. Are you threatening me, sir? I'm trying to save your life. Richardson moved closer to the desk. There are things happening here that are bigger than you understand. Operations that keep America safe in ways that Congress and the Pentagon could never authorize. Sometimes patriots have to work outside the system. Patriots don't steal $12 million from operational funds. Richardson laughed, but there was no humor in it. 12 million? Marcus, you haven't even scratched the surface. The computer screen flickered, and Marcus realized that Richardson had been monitoring his access to the files. Every document he'd opened, every search he'd conducted, had been tracked. But what Richardson revealed next would change everything Marcus thought he knew about his unit. The Phoenix contracts, the Blackwater payments, the encrypted communications, they're all part of something called Operation SHADOWBANK, a financial network that's been funding black operations for 8 years. Operations that have prevented 3 terrorist attacks on American soil and eliminated 17 high-value targets that the politicians were too weak to authorize. Marcus stared at his team leader, trying to process what he was hearing. Unauthorized operations funded by stolen money. Borrowed money. Money that gets results while bureaucrats debate ethics in air-conditioned offices. Richardson pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a series of photographs. Dead terrorists, destroyed weapons caches, intelligence documents. Every dollar we've redirected has saved American lives. And who decides which lives are worth saving? Who gives you the authority to play God with operational funds? Richardson's expression hardened. The same people who gave us the authority to kill in the name of freedom. Sometimes, Reaper, the system fails. Sometimes warriors have to take matters into their own hands. Marcus realized he was staring into the eyes of a man who had crossed a line he could never uncross. But Richardson wasn't finished. You have a choice to make. You can close this audit, file a report that everything checks out, and continue serving your country. Or you can keep digging and discover just how deep this rabbit hole goes. The threat was clear, but Marcus had sworn an oath that went beyond loyalty to any individual commander. And if I choose to keep digging? Richardson's smile was colder than a winter morning in Kandahar. Then you'll learn why we call it the cleaner protocol. The office fell silent except for the humming of the fluorescent lights. Marcus realized that his 15 years of brotherhood, of bleeding and fighting alongside these men, meant nothing if he stood in the way of their operation. But as Richardson turned to leave, he dropped one final revelation that would haunt Marcus for the rest of his life. By the way, Reaper, that training accident that killed Petty Officer Jenkins last month, the one where his parachute malfunctioned during a routine jump? Richardson paused at the door. Jenkins was asking too many questions about contractor payments, too. The door closed with a soft click, leaving Marcus alone with the terrible truth. His brothers weren't just stealing money. They were killing anyone who threatened to expose them. And now Marcus had become their next target. Marcus didn't sleep that night. Every shadow outside his base housing looked like a threat. Every footstep in the hallway could be his last. But by 0500 hours, he had made his decision. If his brothers had chosen money over honor, then someone had to choose honor over brotherhood. The next morning, Marcus arrived at the office before dawn. He had 6 hours before Richardson would expect him to file his audit report. 6 hours to uncover the full scope of Operation SHADOWBANK before they silenced him permanently. But what he discovered in those encrypted files would reveal a corruption network that spanned 3 continents. Marcus bypassed the normal access protocols using his administrative privileges. If they were monitoring his activity, he wanted them to see exactly what he was finding. The first file he opened contained bank routing numbers for accounts in Panama, Cyprus, and the Cayman Islands. SHADOWBANK wasn't just stealing Pentagon money. They had created an entire financial ecosystem. The Panama accounts belonged to shell companies with names like Tactical Solutions International and Maritime Security Consortium, companies that existed only on paper but had processed over $47 million in the past 3 years. But the Cyprus accounts revealed something even more disturbing. The Cyprus bank records showed incoming wire transfers from defense contractors that Marcus recognized. Lockheed Martin subsidiaries, Raytheon shell companies, Boeing black budget divisions. These weren't just Pentagon funds being stolen. Major defense contractors were paying kickbacks directly into the SHADOWBANK network. Marcus pulled up the contractor agreements. Every company paying into Cyprus had received no-bid contracts worth hundreds of millions. Contracts approved by Naval Special Warfare Command officers who were part of the SHADOWBANK operation. The corruption wasn't just theft. It was systematic extortion of America's defense industry. But Marcus was about to discover that the money wasn't just being stolen. It was being used to fund operations that violated every international law. The Cayman Islands accounts showed outgoing payments to contacts across Eastern Europe, Central America, and Southeast Asia. Payments labeled as operational consulting and security services that coincided with unauthorized SEAL deployments. Marcus cross-referenced the payment dates with intelligence reports from the regions. Every SHADOWBANK payment was followed by unexplained explosions, assassinations, or regime changes that benefited American interests, but had never been officially authorized. A payment of $2.3 million to a contact in Belarus, followed 2 weeks later by the mysterious death of a Russian arms dealer who had been selling weapons to Syrian rebels. A transfer of $1.8 million to Guatemala, followed by the assassination of a cartel leader who had been interfering with DEA operations. Marcus realized he wasn't just looking at financial corruption. He was looking at a private army funded by stolen money and contractor kickbacks. But the most chilling discovery was yet to come. Hidden in the encrypted communications was a file labeled Cleaner Protocol Archives. Marcus's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were detailed reports on 4 incidents involving military personnel who had discovered aspects of the SHADOWBANK operation. Petty Officer First Class Sarah Jenkins. Parachute malfunction during routine training. Ruled accidental death. The report noted that Jenkins had been asking questions about discrepancies in contractor payments 2 weeks before her death. Staff Sergeant Michael Torres, Army Special Forces. Vehicle accident during off-duty hours. Ruled accidental death. Torres had been investigating unauthorized weapons transfers to Central American contacts. Lieutenant Commander Patricia Hayes, Naval Intelligence. Apparent suicide by gunshot. Hayes had been analyzing financial irregularities in Special Operations funding. Chief Warrant Officer Robert Kim, Marine Force Recon. Training accident during live fire exercise. Kim had discovered shell company connections to defense contractor payments. 4 military personnel. 4 accidents. 4 people who had gotten too close to the truth about SHADOWBANK. Marcus realized that Richardson hadn't been making an idle threat. The cleaner protocol was real, and it had been used 4 times in the past 2 years. But as Marcus prepared to copy the files to a secure drive, his computer screen went black. "I told you that you were too thorough for your own good, Reaper." Marcus spun around to find Richardson standing behind him with 2 other SEAL operators, Master Chief Kevin Blade Morrison and Senior Chief Tony Hammer Rodriguez. Men Marcus had served with for years. Men who had saved his life, and whose lives he had saved. "You couldn't just file the report and walk away," Richardson continued. "You had to keep digging." "How long have you been watching me?" "Since the moment you accessed the first encrypted file yesterday. We've been monitoring every keystroke, every file you've opened, every search you've conducted." Richardson nodded to Morrison, who moved to block the office door. Marcus looked at the faces of men he had once called brothers. "How many others are involved?" "Enough," Rodriguez answered. "Enough to make sure this operation continues protecting American interests while politicians debate ethics." But Richardson's next revelation would show Marcus just how deep the corruption had spread. "SHADOWBANK isn't just a SEAL operation, Marcus. We have assets in Army Special Forces, Marine Force Recon, Air Force Special Operations, and CIA Special Activities Division. When you steal from the Pentagon, you better make sure you have friends in every branch of the military." Marcus felt the walls closing in around him. The Joint Chiefs? Do they know? The Joint Chiefs know what they need to know. That American interests are being protected by any means necessary. Richardson stepped closer. "But there are some things that are too sensitive for official channels. Some operations that require plausible deniability." "You mean illegal operations funded by stolen money?" Morrison laughed. "Illegal? Marcus, we've prevented terrorist attacks that would have killed thousands of Americans. We've eliminated threats that the politicians were too weak to authorize. We've protected this country in ways that will never make the history books." "And gotten rich doing it," Marcus shot back. "The money is just a tool," Rodriguez said. "A means to an end." "Do you think we're buying yachts and mansions? Every dollar goes back into operations that keep America safe." But Marcus was about to learn that the SHADOWBANK network had one more deadly secret. Richardson pulled out his phone and showed Marcus a photograph. A man in civilian clothes meeting with a known arms dealer in a Beirut cafe. It took Marcus a moment to recognize the face. It was himself. "Photoshopped," Marcus said immediately. "Very good Photoshop," Richardson replied. "Good enough to convince a military tribunal that Senior Chief Petty Officer Marcus Castellanos has been selling classified information to foreign contacts. Good enough to justify a court-martial for treason." Marcus realized they had been preparing for this moment since he first accessed the encrypted files. They had been building a case to destroy him if he refused to cooperate. "You have two choices, Reaper. You can join the operation and help us protect American interests. Or you can become another training accident statistic." The office fell silent as Marcus weighed his options. Join a criminal conspiracy or become its next victim. But as he looked into the eyes of his former brothers, Marcus made a decision that would change everything. "I need time to think about it," Richardson smiled. "You have 24 hours. After that, we implement the cleaner protocol." As the three SEALs left the office, Marcus realized he had less than a day to expose the SHADOWBANK network before they silenced him forever. But he was about to discover that someone else had been watching the Watchers. Marcus had 18 hours left to live. He knew it with the same certainty he'd known when enemy fire was incoming in Fallujah. The SHADOWBANK network had given him a deadline, and they had never missed a target. But as Marcus sat in his truck outside the base perimeter at 0300 hours, he wasn't thinking about his own survival. He was thinking about the 4 military personnel who had died for asking the right questions. And he was thinking about the encrypted message that had appeared on his personal phone 30 minutes ago. A message from someone calling themselves Patriot 6. The message was simple. "They killed my partner. Meet me at the old ammunition bunker. Come alone. Trust no one in uniform." Marcus knew he was walking into either salvation or an execution. But after 15 years of following orders, he was finally ready to follow his conscience. The abandoned ammunition bunker sat 3 miles from the main base, a relic from World War II that had been decommissioned but never demolished. As Marcus approached through the pine trees, he could see a single figure waiting in the shadows. But what he discovered would reveal that the SHADOWBANK network had been hunting whistleblowers for longer than anyone realized. The figure stepped into the moonlight, and Marcus found himself face to face with a woman he recognized from intelligence briefings, Special Agent Lisa Chen, Naval Criminal Investigative Service. But she wasn't wearing her usual professional attire. She was dressed in civilian clothes, and her eyes held the haunted look of someone who had seen too much. "Senior Chief Castellanos, I wasn't sure you'd come. You said they killed your partner." "Who?" Chen pulled out a tablet and showed Marcus a photograph of a man in a Navy uniform. "Lieutenant Commander David Park, NCIS Financial Crimes Division. He was investigating irregularities in Special Operations contractor payments when his car went off a bridge 3 weeks ago." Marcus studied the photograph. "Ruled accidental?" "Ruled accidental. But David was the most careful driver I knew. He never drank, never took risks. And he had just discovered something that would have brought down the entire SHADOWBANK network. But Chen's next revelation would show Marcus that the corruption reached higher than he had ever imagined. David had been tracking the financial network for 8 months. He discovered that SHADOWBANK isn't just stealing Pentagon money and taking contractor kickbacks. They're laundering money for foreign intelligence services. Marcus felt his blood turn cold. Foreign intelligence? Russian SVR, Chinese MSS, Iranian Quds Force. The SHADOWBANK network has been washing dirty money from hostile intelligence services and using it to fund unauthorized American operations. They've turned our special operations forces into mercenaries for the highest bidder. Chen showed Marcus a series of bank records on her tablet. "Look at these Cyprus account deposits. 50 million from a Russian oligarch connected to the SVR. 30 million from a Chinese shell company linked to military intelligence, 20 million from Iranian oil revenues. They're taking money from our enemies and using it to fund operations that serve American interests. It's brilliant in its corruption. They take Russian money to eliminate Russian enemies. They take Chinese money to sabotage Chinese operations. They've created a system where America's enemies pay for their own destruction. But Marcus was about to learn that the SHADOWBANK network had an even darker purpose. The foreign money isn't just funding black operations, Chen continued. It's funding the cleaner protocol. Every whistleblower elimination, every training accident, every convenient suicide is paid for with enemy intelligence money. Marcus stared at the financial records. They're using foreign money to murder American military personnel? David calculated that over the past 3 years, SHADOWBANK has received over $200 million from hostile intelligence services, and they've used that money to eliminate 17 potential whistleblowers across all branches of the military. 17? I thought it was 4. Chen's expression grew darker. 4 in the past 2 years. 13 more going back 3 years. David had identified them all before they killed him. She showed Marcus a list of names. Military personnel from every branch who had died in training accidents, vehicle crashes, apparent suicides, and equipment malfunctions. All of them had been investigating financial irregularities or unauthorized operations. But Chen's next words would reveal the true scope of the conspiracy. The SHADOWBANK network isn't just operating in the United States. They have cells in every NATO country, every major military alliance. They're using the same model to corrupt special operations forces worldwide. Marcus realized he was looking at something far beyond simple financial corruption. This is treason on a global scale. It's worse than treason. It's the systematic destruction of military honor and integrity. They've turned elite warriors into criminals and murderers. Chen pulled up another file on her tablet. David was preparing to present his evidence to the Senate Intelligence Committee when they killed him. But before he died, he gave me everything. Bank records, communication intercepts, operational reports, cleaner protocol archives. Why haven't you taken it to your superiors? Chen's laugh was bitter. Because my superiors are part of the network. The NCIS director has been receiving SHADOWBANK payments for 3 years. The Naval Intelligence Chief is on their payroll. Even some members of Congress are taking money to look the other way. Marcus felt the weight of the conspiracy crushing down on him. How high does it go? High enough that we can't trust anyone in the chain of command. High enough that going through official channels means death. But Chen was about to reveal that they weren't completely alone in their fight. David wasn't the only one investigating SHADOWBANK. There's a network of clean investigators across multiple agencies. FBI, CIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, even some members of Congress who haven't been bought. But they're all working in secret because they know that exposure means death. What do they call themselves? Patriot 6. 6 agencies, 6 branches of government, all working to expose the corruption without getting killed in the process. Chen showed Marcus a secure communication app on her phone. We've been building a case for 2 years. Gathering evidence, protecting witnesses, preparing for the day when we can bring down the entire network. And when will that be? Soon. But we need someone on the inside. Someone with access to the operational files and communication networks. Someone the SHADOWBANK leadership trusts. Marcus realized what she was asking. You want me to go back? To pretend I'm joining them while I gather evidence? It's the only way. You have 17 hours before they implement the cleaner protocol. 17 hours to convince them you're willing to join their operation. But Chen's final warning would show Marcus just how dangerous his mission would be. If they suspect for even a moment that you're working against them, they won't wait for a training accident. They'll kill you immediately and make it look like you were selling secrets to foreign contacts. Marcus thought about the photoshopped image Richardson had shown him. They had already prepared his cover story for treason. What about my family? If I do this, are they safe? Chen's silence was answer enough. They've already identified your wife and daughter as potential leverage. If you betray the network, your family becomes part of the cleaner protocol. Marcus felt rage building in his chest. These men had sworn the same oath he had. They had promised to protect American lives, not threaten them. Give me the communication app. Tell me what you need. Chen handed him a secure phone. Everything. Financial records, operational plans, communication logs, and most importantly, the complete list of network members. We need to know everyone involved before we can take them down. As Marcus prepared to return to base and convince his former brothers that he was willing to become a traitor, Chen gave him one final piece of intelligence that would change everything. "Marcus, there's something else David discovered before they killed him. The SHADOWBANK network isn't just funding black operations. They're planning something big, something they call Operation Clean Slate. What is it? We don't know yet, but according to David's notes, it involves eliminating everyone who has ever investigated their activities. Every clean investigator, every honest officer, every potential whistleblower." Marcus realized that Patriot 6 wasn't just fighting to expose corruption. They were fighting for their lives. When? Soon. David's last message said they were accelerating the timeline. Operation Clean Slate could begin within days. As Marcus drove back toward the base, he knew he was walking into the most dangerous mission of his career. He had to convince murderers and traitors that he was willing to become one of them, while secretly gathering the evidence that would destroy them all. But he also knew that if he failed, it wouldn't just be his own life at stake. It would be the lives of every honest military officer who had ever tried to do the right thing. The cleaner protocol was about to become a weapon of mass destruction. Marcus had 12 hours to convince the most dangerous men in the military that he was willing to betray everything he had sworn to protect. As he walked into the Naval Special Warfare Command building at 600 hours, he carried 2 phones. His official device and the secure Patriot 6 communication app that could either save his life or get him killed. Richardson was waiting in his office with the same 2 operators from the day before. Morrison and Rodriguez sat in chairs flanking the desk like sentries. But there was a 4th man Marcus didn't recognize, a civilian in an expensive suit who radiated the kind of authority that came from having blood on your hands. "Reaper, I hope you've had time to consider our offer." Marcus had rehearsed this moment during his sleepless night. He had to sell the performance of his life to men who killed for a living. "I've been thinking about what you said, about protecting American interests by any means necessary." But Richardson's next test would determine whether Marcus lived or died. "Thinking isn't enough, Marcus. We need commitment. We need proof that you understand the stakes." The civilian stepped forward. "Senior Chief Castellanos, my name is Jonathan Blackwood. I represent certain private interests that work closely with the SHADOWBANK network." Marcus recognized the name from Chen's intelligence files. Blackwood was a former CIA operative who now ran a private military company that specialized in deniable operations. A man who had turned patriotism into profit. "Mr. Blackwood has a proposition for you," Richardson continued. "A way to prove your commitment to the cause." Blackwood pulled out a tablet and showed Marcus a photograph of a man in civilian clothes. "This is Dr. Michael Harrison, a forensic accountant working for the Government Accountability Office. He's been investigating discrepancies in Pentagon contractor payments." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What about him?" "Dr. Harrison has gotten too close to certain sensitive financial arrangements. His investigation threatens operations that protect American lives around the world." Richardson leaned forward. "We need you to eliminate the threat, Marcus. Tonight." The room fell silent as Marcus realized they were asking him to commit murder. Not in combat, not against an enemy combatant, but against an American citizen whose only crime was doing his job. But Marcus's response would determine whether he could continue his mission or become their next victim. "You want me to kill an accountant?" "We want you to protect national security," Morrison said. "Sometimes that requires difficult decisions." Blackwood showed Marcus another photograph. Dr. Harrison with his wife and 2 young children. Dr. Harrison lives alone during the week while his family visits his mother-in-law in Richmond. He jogs the same route every evening through Rock Creek Park. A mugging gone wrong. Very tragic. Marcus felt sick, but he forced himself to nod. "What's my timeline?" "Tonight. 2100 hours. Harrison always jogs past the old stone bridge around that time. Make it look random, but make sure he doesn't survive." Richardson handed Marcus a small device. "Untraceable communication link. You'll receive final confirmation and extraction instructions through this channel." But as Marcus prepared to leave, Blackwood revealed the true scope of Operation Clean Slate. "Dr. Harrison is just the beginning, Senior Chief. Over the next 72 hours, the SHADOWBANK network will be implementing a comprehensive solution to our security concerns. What kind of solution? 17 targets across 6 agencies. Every investigator, every whistleblower, every honest officer who threatens our operations. We call it Operation Clean Slate because when it's finished, there won't be anyone left who knows enough to hurt us. Marcus realized that Chen and Patriot 6 had underestimated the timeline. Operation Clean Slate wasn't days away. It was beginning tonight. 17 people? Rodriguez smiled. 17 problems that will be solved permanently. Car accidents, home invasions, training mishaps, apparent suicides. By this time next week, the SHADOWBANK network will be completely secure. Marcus forced himself to ask the question that would give Patriot 6 the intelligence they needed. Who are the targets? Blackwood pulled up a list on his tablet. Dr. Harrison is target 1. Special Agent Lisa Chen, NCIS, is target 2. She'll be eliminated tomorrow night during what appears to be a home invasion. Marcus's heart stopped. They knew about Chen. They knew about her investigation. The other 15 targets include FBI agents, CIA analysts, defense intelligence officers, and several members of Congress who have been asking uncomfortable questions about special operations funding. But Blackwood's next revelation would show Marcus that the conspiracy reached the highest levels of government. We also have 3 targets in the Pentagon: a general who's been questioning contractor relationships, an admiral who's been pushing for financial audits, and a civilian analyst who's been tracking unauthorized operations. Marcus realized that Operation Clean Slate wasn't just about protecting the SHADOWBANK network. It was about eliminating anyone in the military or government who believed in accountability and oversight. What about collateral damage? Families? Regrettable but necessary, Richardson said. Some of our targets have shared sensitive information with their spouses. We can't take the risk of loose ends. Marcus felt rage building in his chest, but he forced himself to remain calm. How many total casualties? 37, including family members. But think of it as an investment in national security. 37 deaths to protect operations that save thousands of American lives. Blackwood closed the tablet. Your participation in Dr. Harrison's elimination will demonstrate your commitment to the network. After that, you'll be briefed on additional assignments. As Marcus prepared to leave, Morrison handed him a small package. Everything you need for tonight. Untraceable weapon, fake identification, extraction route. Don't disappoint us, Reaper. But Richardson's final warning revealed just how closely they would be watching. Marcus, you should know that we'll have surveillance on you throughout the operation. If you deviate from the plan, if you attempt to warn Dr. Harrison, if you show any sign of betrayal, the cleaner protocol will be implemented immediately. And my family. Your family's safety depends entirely on your performance tonight. As Marcus left the building, he knew he had less than 8 hours to save Dr. Harrison's life, warn Chen about the threat against her, and somehow prevent Operation Clean Slate from eliminating 17 innocent people. But first, he had to figure out how to fake a murder without actually committing one. Marcus drove to a secure location and activated the Patriot 6 communication app. Chen answered immediately. Marcus, what's your status? They bought it. But we have a bigger problem. Operation Clean Slate begins tonight. 17 targets, including you. What? How do you know? Because they want me to kill the first target. Dr. Michael Harrison, GAO forensic accountant. Tonight at 2100 hours in Rock Creek Park. Chen's silence lasted several seconds. Michael Harrison is one of our Patriot 6 investigators. He's been building the financial case against SHADOWBANK. Marcus realized that the network had identified and targeted the very people who were trying to expose them. They know about Patriot 6. They know about all of you. How is that possible? I don't know, but they have a complete target list. 17 primary targets, 37 total casualties including family members. They're planning to eliminate everyone who threatens their operation. But Chen's response would reveal that Patriot 6 had been preparing for this possibility. Marcus, we've been planning for a scenario like this. If they discovered our investigation and moved to eliminate us, we have a contingency protocol. What kind of protocol? We go public, immediately. We release everything we have to every major news organization simultaneously. It won't be as complete as we wanted, but it will be enough to expose the network and protect the remaining investigators. Marcus thought about the implications. That means sacrificing the investigation to save lives. Better than letting them murder 17 honest officers and their families. But we need one more thing before we go public. What? We need the complete SHADOWBANK membership list. Without knowing everyone involved, some of them will escape and rebuild the network. Marcus realized what she was asking. You want me to go through with the Harrison operation? To maintain my cover long enough to get the membership list. It's the only way, but Marcus, you can't actually kill Dr. Harrison. We need him alive to testify. Then how do I fake his death convincingly enough to fool surveillance? Chen was quiet for a moment. Leave that to us. Just make sure you're at the stone bridge at 2100 hours. We'll handle the rest. As Marcus prepared for the most dangerous deception of his career, he realized that the next few hours would determine not just his own survival, but the survival of everyone who had ever tried to hold the military accountable to its own values. Operation Clean Slate was about to begin, but Patriot 6 was ready to fight back. At 20:45 hours, Marcus Castellanos crouched behind a tree in Rock Creek Park, watching Dr. Michael Harrison approach the stone bridge. In 15 minutes, he was supposed to murder an innocent man to maintain his cover with the most dangerous criminals in the American military. But Marcus wasn't alone in the darkness. Somewhere in the shadows, Patriot 6 operatives were positioning themselves to stage the most elaborate fake assassination in intelligence history. The secure communication device Richardson had given him crackled to life. Reaper, this is Overwatch. Target is approaching the bridge. You are cleared to engage. Marcus keyed his microphone. Copy, Overwatch. Moving to intercept. But as Marcus emerged from the tree line, he realized that Operation Clean Slate was about to become a war. Doctor. Harrison jogged steadily toward the bridge, earbuds in, completely unaware that his life hung in the balance. Marcus could see the SHADOWBANK surveillance team positioned on the ridge overlooking the park. 2 snipers with night vision scopes, watching his every move. Marcus approached Harrison from behind, just as they had planned. But instead of the untraceable weapon Morrison had given him, Marcus carried a tranquilizer gun provided by Patriot 6. One shot would put Harrison down for 6 hours, long enough to fake his death and get him to safety. Dr. Harrison, Marcus called out softly. The accountant turned, pulling out his earbuds. Yes? Marcus fired the tranquilizer dart into Harrison's neck. The man collapsed immediately, his body going limp. To the surveillance team watching through night vision, it would look like Marcus had used a silenced weapon for a close-range execution. But Marcus's real test was just beginning. Marcus keyed his radio. Overwatch, target is down, requesting extraction. Copy, Reaper. Well done. Proceed to extraction point Alpha. As Marcus began dragging Harrison's unconscious body toward the extraction point, he heard vehicles approaching through the park. But they weren't SHADOWBANK extraction vehicles. They were Patriot 6 operatives, dressed as paramedics, coming to collect Harrison's body. The fake ambulance arrived just as Marcus reached the designated spot. 2 operatives in medical uniforms loaded Harrison onto a stretcher, while a third handed Marcus a bag of fake blood to spread around the scene. Make it look good, the operative whispered. The surveillance team needs to believe he's dead. Marcus scattered the blood around the bridge and left Harrison's torn jogging clothes as evidence. To anyone watching from a distance, it would appear that Dr. Michael Harrison had been murdered during a random mugging. But as the fake ambulance drove away with Harrison's unconscious body, Marcus received a communication that would change everything. The Patriot 6 phone in his pocket vibrated with an encrypted message from Chen. Clean Slate accelerated. All targets being eliminated tonight. 17 kill teams deployed. We're going public in 1 hour. Marcus realized that his successful assassination of Dr. Harrison had triggered the full implementation of Operation Clean Slate. The SHADOWBANK network was moving to eliminate every threat simultaneously. His radio crackled again. Reaper, return to base for debriefing and your next assignment. Marcus knew that his next assignment would be another murder. Another innocent person who had tried to hold the military accountable to its values. But he also knew that Patriot 6 was about to expose the entire conspiracy. The question was whether they could save the other 16 targets before the kill teams reached them. As Marcus drove back toward the base, his Patriot 6 phone rang. It was Chen, and her voice was tight with urgency. "Marcus, we have a problem. The SHADOWBANK network has moved faster than we anticipated. Kill teams are already in position for all 17 targets." "What's the status?" "We've managed to warn and extract 6 targets, including 3 members of Congress, but 11 are still in danger, including a 3-star general and an FBI assistant director." Marcus felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. "What do you need me to do?" "We need the membership list. Without knowing everyone involved in the network, some of them will escape when we go public. They'll disappear, rebuild, and start killing again." "How do I get the list without blowing my cover?" "You're debriefing. They'll want to congratulate you on the Harrison operation and brief you on additional targets. That's when they'll show you the complete operational structure." But Chen's next words would reveal the true scope of the battle they were fighting. "Marcus, we've discovered something else. Operation Clean Slate isn't just about eliminating investigators. It's about eliminating anyone in the military who might oppose a complete takeover of special operations by the SHADOWBANK network." "What do you mean?" "They're planning to assassinate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the Secretary of Defense, and the National Security Advisor. They want to replace them with network members who will give SHADOWBANK complete control over American special operations." Marcus realized that Operation Clean Slate wasn't just mass murder. It was a military coup disguised as a security operation. "When?" "Tomorrow night. They call it Phase 2. After they eliminate all the investigators tonight, they move against the senior leadership tomorrow." As Marcus arrived at the base, he knew he was walking into the heart of a conspiracy that threatened the very foundation of American democracy. But he also knew that he was the only person in position to stop it. The debriefing room was filled with SHADOWBANK leadership: Richardson, Morrison, Rodriguez, and Blackwood, along with 6 other men Marcus didn't recognize. Senior officers from every branch of the military, all part of the conspiracy. "Outstanding work tonight, Reaper," Richardson said as Marcus entered. "Dr. Harrison's elimination went exactly as planned. But what they showed him next would reveal the true scope of their criminal empire." Blackwood activated a large display screen showing a map of the United States. Red dots marked the locations of kill teams across the country. Green dots showed completed eliminations. Blue dots showed targets still in progress. "As of 2200 hours, we have successfully eliminated 9 of our 17 targets," Blackwood announced. "The remaining 8 will be neutralized within the next 4 hours. Marcus forced himself to show enthusiasm while his stomach churned. "What about Phase 2? One of the unknown officers stepped forward. Marcus recognized him from intelligence briefings as General Patricia Hawkins, Deputy Director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. A woman who had sworn to protect America, but had chosen to destroy it instead. "Phase 2 begins tomorrow at 1800 hours, Hawkins said. "Simultaneous elimination of the chairman, the secretary, and the National Security Advisor. By 2000 hours, the SHADOWBANK network will control the entire American Special Operations apparatus. And after that?" Richardson smiled. "After that, we expand internationally. NATO Special Operations, Allied Intelligence Services, private military contractors worldwide. Within 5 years, the SHADOWBANK network will control every elite military unit on the planet." But Marcus was about to see something that would give Patriot 6 everything they needed to destroy the conspiracy. Blackwood pulled up another screen showing the complete organizational chart of the SHADOWBANK network. Names, ranks, positions, financial connections, and operational responsibilities. Over 200 military officers, intelligence operatives, defense contractors, and government officials. "This is what you're now part of, Marcus," Richardson said. "The most powerful military organization in human history, an organization that answers to no government, follows no laws, and serves only the cause of protecting civilization from those too weak to do what's necessary." Marcus memorized every name on the screen while pretending to study it with admiration. Generals, admirals, CIA directors, FBI assistant directors, members of Congress, Supreme Court justices, and even 2 cabinet secretaries. The SHADOWBANK network had infiltrated every level of American government and military leadership. But as Marcus prepared to transmit the information to Patriot 6, alarms began blaring throughout the building. "Sir, we have a problem," a communications officer announced. Multiple news organizations are simultaneously broadcasting stories about the SHADOWBANK network. Financial records, operational documents, kill team locations, everything. Richardson's face went white. "How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. But CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, The Washington Post, The New York Times, and The Wall Street Journal are all running the same story. Complete exposure of Operation Clean Slate and the entire financial network." Marcus realized that Patriot 6 had gone public. The story was breaking across every major news platform simultaneously, making it impossible for the network to suppress or discredit. But Richardson's response would show Marcus that the conspiracy was far from over. "Initiate Protocol 7, Richardson ordered. "All network members are to implement immediate extraction procedures, burn all evidence, eliminate all witnesses, and proceed to designated safe houses." General Hawkins pulled out her sidearm. "Starting with our newest member." Marcus realized that his cover had been blown. Somehow they had connected him to the Patriot 6 leak. "You really thought we wouldn't figure it out, Reaper?" Richardson said. "The timing was too perfect. Harrison's elimination followed immediately by a complete intelligence leak. You've been working against us from the beginning." But as the SHADOWBANK leadership prepared to execute Marcus, he played his final card. Marcus activated the emergency beacon Chen had given him. Within seconds, the building was surrounded by FBI tactical teams, U.S. Marshals, and military police. The Patriot 6 investigation had provided enough evidence for simultaneous arrests across the entire network. "This is the FBI. The building is surrounded. Drop your weapons and surrender immediately." The debriefing room erupted in chaos as SHADOWBANK operatives drew weapons and prepared to fight their way out. But Marcus had one more surprise for them. "You want to know how we figured out your entire operation?" Marcus said as federal agents breached the doors. "Dr. Harrison isn't dead. None of your targets tonight are dead. Patriot 6 has been tracking your network for 2 years, and tonight we saved every single person you tried to murder." Richardson's face twisted with rage as FBI agents swarmed the room. "You have no idea what you've done, Marcus. The operations we run, the threats we eliminate, without us, America will fall to its enemies. America doesn't need criminals and murderers to protect it," Marcus replied as Richardson was handcuffed. "It needs warriors who remember what honor means." As the FBI led the SHADOWBANK leadership away in handcuffs, Marcus realized that the battle was over. But the war for the soul of America's military was just beginning. Over the next 72 hours, federal agents arrested 247 members of the SHADOWBANK network across 6 countries. The financial investigation revealed over $400 million in stolen Pentagon funds and foreign intelligence payments. The operational investigation uncovered 23 unauthorized black operations and 19 murders disguised as training accidents. But most importantly, the investigation revealed something that gave Marcus hope for the future of American special operations. For every corrupt officer who had joined the SHADOWBANK network, there were 10 honest warriors who had refused. For every criminal who had chosen money over honor, there were dozens of operators who had remained true to their oath. The SHADOWBANK conspiracy had been vast and powerful, but it had never represented the true spirit of America's elite warriors. It had been a cancer that the military's immune system had finally rejected. As Marcus stood in the courtroom 6 months later, watching Richardson receive a life sentence for treason and murder, he thought about the 4 military personnel who had died for asking the right questions. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. The SHADOWBANK network was destroyed. Operation Clean Slate had failed, and the American military had proven that honor and integrity were stronger than corruption and greed. But Marcus also knew that the price of freedom was eternal vigilance. There would always be those who sought to corrupt the warrior's code for personal gain, and there would always be warriors like him, ready to stand guard against the darkness. The battle for America's soul never truly ended. It just changed battlefields. And on this battlefield, honor had won.